That's the process of the journey, you know.
Of all journeys, yes,
Oh yes,
things get less hard, like in dating.
indeed.
We're so good at those segues, huh, Barry?
We get kind of practice with that. Yeah, we're getting good at it.
Yeah, we're getting better and better at it with our practice.
Here we are. Yes.
So here we are at WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV and podcast #1 Internet Singles Talk Network. And this is Let's Talk Dating with Christine and Barry. Hi, Barry.
Hi, Christine.
We're wishing we were at the beach. Our producer, Cece's hanging at the beach with her girlfriends.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do the work.
Oh, we have to work. We have to work.
I know. So today we're talking about what you can say or do. Oh, thank you, Cece. I was looking on my phone. It's much easier to look at the computer. To attract somebody's attention when you're dating. And this is another one where there's going to be some really big differences. What's attractive to men and what's attractive to women and what's not, because we're certainly going to address that as well. Because this is where I just crack up so much that when I'll ask men or women, what do you think is attractive to the other person? They really are, they either don't know or they're really mistaken.
Oh, yeah. So just say the title again because you stopped in the middle of it. Just say it all the way through.
What can you say or do to attract attention in dating?
There we go.
And I think that's a really big mouthful for people. I think we all don't know enough. And some people know very little.
Well, the thing is, what came up with that sort of title, it was just this discussion. I remember when I used to go skiing, which I haven't done for a long time, but we get to the ski lifts and always shout out, single, single. So my thought was, can you use that when you're dating to attract attention? You could attract attention. It may not be the best way.
It's a thought, but for sure. So people that don't ski wouldn't know that. But the people that ski would go, well, that's really clever. And so the reason you're doing that is because you have to have somebody on the lift with you. You can't go up on the lift by yourself, which is really, they should be doing like happy hours and networking. Really, they should promote. Don't you think?
Wouldn't it be easier?
I think it's a missed opportunity that they're doing on those slopes, I think.
Yes,
because
indeed.
I think everybody looks really cute in the outfits for sure.
Well, the thing is also with the outfits, it can hide a multitude of sins.
There are lots of layers, especially for people that get cold easy like me.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. You can basically, it's a good way of getting to know somebody without getting to know what they look like specifically, because they weren't such voluminous, at least well, not so much nowadays. In the old days, the parkas and all the clothes you wore, you were so voluminous, you looked like 4 times bigger than you were.
Yeah. The Michelin man or the doughboy or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another thing that's really a good enticement of. There was this, I don't know if it's still on, but I watched a couple of episodes because somebody suggested to me, and it was called, oh, no, I'm not going to remember, Blind Marriage or Blind Dating or Blind something, where people the men and women talk to each other through a wall. Oh, and they had no idea what the other person looked like. And they could ask any questions they wanted. You could not answer, but there was nothing off limits. And then they could decide if they wanted to get engaged to them. It was pretty crazy, but they never got to see them until they'd made that commitment. And it was such a gimmicky show, but I liked the idea of you get to know somebody before you know what they look like, not necessarily to get engaged for sure, but the looks can sometimes be such a distraction or an unfortunate deterrent where, because I talk so much about it's helpful if we women don't aim for this huge chemical reaction with men, because it often doesn't serve us well, that we act kind of crazy and not really ourselves, or we might reject this really amazing guy just because he doesn't be our type. So that's another thing about, wow, not, is this a desirable body type when you're on the ski slope? You don't know. You really, really don't know, because no matter what size you are, you're all going to look this big.
Yeah.
So it makes everybody kind of a unisize. And then you would just go sort of how they look, but you still got a lot of stuff on. But if you're talking on the lift, which takes a little while, did you like how their voice? Did you like the things they said? Did you like that you felt kind of a connected energy, not a look energy? So,
Right.
yeah. So part of attracting the attention to somebody or having the attention is being more open. Don't you think more open with all these things we're including is a big part of it?
Well, yeah, to put spin on the other way, one of the ways to detract attention is to be looking or to be, I won't say too picky, but to have that sensation of just being like scanning for only one particular criteria doesn't give you room to see other things. And the thing is that, like you were saying about the conversation, not necessarily to speak through a wall, but to get to know somebody over the phone first before you meet them in person can definitely align or weed out those that do or don't match. Because the thing is, it's not saying you must be attracted to everybody. It's not talking about that. But to attract the right person, the one that you feel most connected to, isn't just going to be visual. Because the thing is, if you're only going on visual data, you're only getting a small percentage of the person's whole being. And so for men and for women, if you're looking at somebody's picture, and I have a whole thing about, well, let me say this, well, at your turn now. You know, living in LA, as I have for the last 40 years, we're a very visually stimulated environment here. I mean, just as much as in movies and TV stuff too. But the thing is that with the perception of beauty being so surface, we get caught up in that. And for men and for women, it's not just women, but for men as well. And I remember when I was out and about, and I saw this woman, and she was absolutely gorgeous. She was standing there, and she was like a model. I mean, she was, you know, the shape, the curve, the hourglass, all that stuff was like she was like a model. But then she started moving, like walking, like active, you know, animating, and everything went sideways in terms of visually. Because the thing is, she looked so beautiful, but she didn't. She when she walked, she wasn't in her body. Like she looked so ungainly, is probably by putting it. You know, her shoulders became almost like masculine shoulders. They got very strong, and it wasn't sexy anymore. Yeah, the woman still looked the same, but her appearance went down a few notches in my opinion, because she didn't present that way, and she hadn't opened her mouth yet, so we hadn't talked to her or anything. So just to say that, just so the still life, that looking at a picture or just somebody standing still, can only give you so much information.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can attract attention, yes. However, you may not want to date them, even though they may look amazing to you, again, man or woman, until you hear their voice, because there's the other part too. There are people, when you hear their voice, like it's nails on a chalkboard, you never want to listen to them. It doesn't matter how good they look. You couldn't stand listening to them, you know.
Yeah.
It's like the joke about just shut up and kiss me sort of thing. Like, you know, you can't do that forever. No.
You might want to talk afterwards sometime. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So there's a couple of things to spice up the conversation.
And it's funny that you say that, because I've had it happen the other way, where I was like, you know, he's nice to talk to, you know, he seems pleasant across the room, and yeah, I'll go talk to him. And then I was like, the voice, wow, was even made him more attractive. So the opposite can happen for us too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So one of the twists I want to give on the model story, or the gorgeous woman, was maybe she was, but often people are not very comfortable in their bodies. And that's another way that you can detract or attract, is however you are today, it's good enough. It's dressed to your best. You feel the best. You feel like you look the best. And then not one apology for anything about you, because this is how you look today.
Yes.
Maybe you look different next week or next month or 6 months today, because it stops people from going out. It stops people from, it makes us, you know, try to hide, and it's like, walk proud, hun. This is who you are, and you're a lovely person, and you have lots to offer. Look, you even sat up more straight. I love that. But don't you notice people who seem self-confident? And often part of the self-confidence is feeling comfortable in your body, feeling comfortable with who you are, feeling comfortable with how you look. I mean, I tell people, just look at the plus size models. Strutting theirs in bathing suits and cover-ups and tight things, and they're so they almost seem, and I'm going to go out on a limb, more comfortable than the skinny models. It's like they've really come to peace with it, because I think the skinny models can't be skinny enough. It's what society tells them and their bosses tell them. And what I really see from the plus size model that I've read interviews with them and seen them talk in interviews, they've worked at getting, I'm hot and they're paying me all this money to model their clothes. Fabulous. I'm fabulous
Right.
how I am. They seem 1000% more confident than the other side of the really skinny people. So
Yeah.
watch them, take notes.
Well, the thing is that ownership of themselves, again, male or female, because I'm sure this is not being particularly one sexist or anything else. Like, this is true for both genders and for both polarities too, is that when you really do own and embody yourself, not to show off, but to really be present in your body and owning who you are, you become more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Because most people, when they're not feeling aligned with themselves, they're feeling out of sorts with themselves, tend to exude a less attractive quality.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how classically beautiful they are or how classically handsome they are. If it's like somebody with a sour expression on their face is not as attractive as somebody who's smiling or is happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a natural thing.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing is true energetically. So the more that you embody and own your being, independent. Oh, there she is. I was wondering when she's in the shop. There's Gigi.
There's Barry's voice. I have to cruise by. That Barry's so attractive to me when he talks.
Listen, if you listen to the podcast, that's a cat that we're talking about here.
Oh, my Cece that just walked by. Yeah. Cece
Yeah.
very attracted to Barry's voice. And it's funny because she'd gone by earlier before we were on. And I'm like, maybe she won't come. No, she got up and made the whole entrance. This is truly the catwalk on the back of my couch when Barry
Every time. It's so funny.
Every time. Cece shows up. She likes you. She likes whatever you have to say. She has to make her entrance.
What can I say?
Well, I think so. Your animal magnetism, Barry.
Well, I'll yes, I'll sit with that one. But the thing we're talking about, what you say or do to attract attention in dating, because the key word in there is attention in a way. Because the thing is, you've got to be careful, like, what attention, positive or negative.
Yes.
So in that context, that's why I love this title, because the different words you can pick out of the statement of what the focus can be on. If you're talking about attention, if you are exuding, putting out, presenting a dark energy and negative energy, an upset energy, because maybe you got your car dinged and you carry energy. If you're on your first date and your car's like that, you're not exactly presenting a particularly attractive energy. You're attracting a negative, or I should say, you're putting out a negative energy, which is not very attractive. So if you want to attract healthy, positive attention in dating, notice how you are with yourself. Mm-hmm. It's important to, this goes again beyond what you say or do. It's how you are, what energy you present, how you feel about yourself when you're on dates. So you were saying with the plus size models, when you really are owning yourself, and this may become the through line for the whole conversation, when you really are aligned to who your values are, what you're about, you're more in integrity, basically. Mm-hmm. You're integrated, you're aligned, you're in that one place that lines up. So then when you do meet somebody, there's no wishy-washy, the messy middle, as we talk about. It's like you're in your clarity, which is a really good place to be.
So some preparation ahead of time might need to happen. If you've had a bad day or it was a hard drive to get to wherever you're going, to go, okay, how do I put that aside? Because I'm going to need to be in a better place so that I have a good time. Yeah. So that I will enjoy it being here. So what I've done in the past is I've said, do I have time to call somebody and complain right now? Maybe and get it out of my system. Or, okay, when I get out of whatever it is I'm going to go do in my positive attitude, I know who I can call and say, gosh, I have to tell you what happened. And then I have this fun thing to tell you, because that's the thing that happens if I've turned my attitude around. So walking into a place like a singles thing or, some sort of a meetup gathering, and say out loud. And if you can't say it out loud, at least say it in your head. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be. Look your face, your body will react to that word excitement.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to be here. What am I going to learn? What am I going to see? What am I going to do? Because I told you I used to help at the deli where Tom Blake and his now deceased longtime love, Greta, would be giving people name tags to come to the meet and greet they had once a month. And the sour faces that would come in the door sometimes. I'm like, hi, aren't you excited to be here? And they're like, oh, yeah, maybe. But just to get them out of their stone face,
Right. Yeah.
oh, like, you're coming to a really fun thing. I mean, there was a DJ with music and really good food, and we were great greeters. And I would have to just like, let me see if I can turn you around. Greta and I go, this is our challenge. We're going to turn those faces. She was a teacher, so she was really into that. But
Right.
that you don't even realize that you're coming in with a sour face. So if you say out loud, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to meet new people. I'm excited to learn something new. Your face will reflect it. You
Right.
might have a get over your sour face because people are attracted to smiles. They're attracted to positive energy. And it's not like you have to be happy all the time. If you want to go find a date and you want somebody to want to go out with you, or you want to meet people you want to go out with, because that's the point of this subject today, wouldn't you rather them look happy, you look happy? What I find too is if I smile at somebody, often, not always, but often they'll smile back.
Yeah.
It's kind of catchy, like yawns, right? Yawns are so catchy. I think smiles are just as catchy. I
Indeed,
was on
they
a
are.
Zoom meeting the other night. It was kind of like the wave. Somebody yawned and it went through like all the people. It was so well, the same thing can happen with a smile, right?
Indeed, absolutely can. Yeah, that's the thing is we do oftentimes carry so much agenda in our heads. We also go, through the day and everything else. So whether you're meeting someone for a date or if you go in someone's social environment, like you're saying, like a singles mixer, which I think we'll start having again now we're post-pandemic and stuff, is there's an opportunity before you walk in the door to it's like adjusting your belt and adjusting your suit, adjust your attitude too. Change your mindset around and say, okay, it's like, first of all, if you're going to be an event or you're going to meet someone on a date and you really want to be there, double check that you're not carrying a whole bunch of other stuff with you into that place. Like you were saying about if somebody you can call, even if your mind's distracted by lots of things, write them down. Make it. Put a voice note on your phone or something. Do something to download the stuff out of your head, so you can be present and free to be in the enjoyment of the environment for the date or for the environment you're going into for the singles mixer. Because it is challenging sometimes to meet people when their mind is elsewhere. Same as if your mind is elsewhere, you're going to be hard to meet as well. So the more you can be present, again, integrated, aligned, and fully present when you go into the date, the better, because that means you're more likely to find out if there's a good match or not.
Yeah. Download the chatter. That's what I heard you say.
Yeah.
You put it in like geek terms. So that's the thing too, that once you've gotten dressed, and generally, I know women will argue with me, generally men do think about it. And it's sad the things that women complain about, but men dressing, but generally you do all think about it and we think about it. Then no, I'm looking my best.
Mm-hmm.
Leave the chatter in the car. Leave
Right.
the chatter at home about, oh, I have a role, or oh, what if she doesn't like bald men, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Here you are looking your best. It's up to you to feel your best, present your best. And if you're not a match, it's not because of that.
Right.
It's for a whole bunch of other things that lots of them don't have to do with you, which is hard for us to believe for sure.
Well, there's just to insert there the quote I was thinking about when you said it was Eleanor Roosevelt's quote. What you think of me is none of my business. You can carry the energy where you go on dates and stuff. I think it's so much easier.
It would make it so much easier.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, when we talk about looks. I'm sure men do this too. I just know that I did it a lot as a woman before I knew better. You scan the room and you don't even notice unless they're your type. I mean, I've said out loud, I would not, my lovely late husband, I would have not noticed him in a room full of men before I met him on our first date.
Right.
Because there was nothing about him that was the type. Not one thing. I mean, it isn't like, oh, I would have noticed him because he's taller. I would have noticed his brown hair. There was just none of that. And those were my things. I could pick those guys out of a room. But one thing that I was thinking that happened was, so I've always had brown hair and I've had a lot of blonde girlfriends. And I tend to like guys with brown hair, and they tended to like guys with blonde hair. So what happened though, when we would go out together, before then, I'd never really noticed blondes because I wasn't attracted. But then I go, oh, there's a blonde for you. We'd start
Oh,
picking.
right. Yeah.
So even at that little moment, I was kind of expanding my view, which I didn't realize was really a benefit. Since
Surprise.
mostly bald and had a little bit of gray hair, that
Mm-hmm.
how important it is to don't do that. Don't do the narrow vision of only this, only tall, only whatever, to go smile, see who smiles back, talk to them for a minute. You're still practicing how to talk. And the other thing that's important that I think helps attract people is if you have something interesting to ask them or tell them, because everybody's heard all the lines, and they're kind of boring.
Mm-hmm.
And it's important to. So can you hear Sammy? He's having a comment too. The cats are
conversation today.
the cats are taking over my house today. That when you seem interested in somebody else and not caught up, which is the other part about not being all concerned about how you look and what you're wearing, once you put that aside, then you can go, well, gosh, I was standing near you and I heard this really interesting comment. Could you tell me more about that? I've heard about that before, or I've never heard about that before. Just to practice, even if they're not your type, even if they don't look like somebody that you would want to have in your life forever. You never know where you're going to use that information later. That if you're at a thing where, like a gallery opening, they have this cool thing in Laguna Beach where there's an art walk where you tour a bunch of galleries, and there's an order and they give you wine. And I mean, how fun to ask somebody that might know the artist or might know of an interesting other gallery, even if you don't want to go out with them, to just hone your skills about being a good conversationalist, because generally people like being asked about themselves.
That's probably the biggest truth there is. Yeah, I mean and the thing about this conversation is there are so many different parts to the topic, because this thing about what you can say or do to attract attention on dating is, a lot of it is how you take yourself into dates, but also how do you advertise yourself? How do you show yourself visible to dates? Because we've done the whole conversation about dating apps and your profiles and everything else. So I'm not going to cover that here, but if you're listening to this or watching this and you haven't seen that one, go find the archive of that one. It's a good conversation. But in terms of the physical date, the human interaction, the actual being in person, there's so much to that. The thing about dates also is people, and this is the reason why I've always recommended coffee dates first, is that first date syndrome or first date scenario that people go on. It's all that best behavior thing. Don't eat too much, don't make a mess, try to say polite things. It's like you bring your energy way in to be on the date most times. Now, of course, there are those people, exceptions to the rule, who are always so out there, they're crazy. But
yeah,
because those people out there too, I know them, both men and women. But the thing about it is, when you go on a date and you can just be yourself, again, that's why I say recommend coffee dates, because oftentimes that first date, the pressure of like picking the right restaurant, dressing, putting the right outfit on, showing up on time, doing the right thing, all these different things that make it so tense and challenging to be comfortable. Whereas if you go on a coffee date first, which I've recommended many times, you can show up in jeans, you can do it in daylight, you don't have to worry about being over the top made up. You can be very relaxed, make it very casual in the sense that it's not a formal thing, but it's a chance to get to know each other. So then when you're like, okay, you go over the hurdles, you now see each other as you really are, you're relaxed. Again, daylight is what you actually look like. It's like, you want to go on a date now? Yeah, let's go on a date tonight or next week or whatever that is. The warm up to it, the way of approaching it is one where you built the introduction gently. You haven't tried to rush in from the get-go. So one of those things you can do that actually builds attraction is to start from a more relaxed place. And I'm just saying that's the only way to do it, but definitely do things that are more informal in a sense to get to know somebody first.
Yeah, really relaxed.
Yeah.
And I keep hearing this in my head, so I'm going to say it, that, we were teasing about how do you tell people that you're single?
Yeah.
Just so effortless on the ski slope. I'll always remember that when Marlo Thomas went on the Phil Donahue show to talk about her father, Danny Thomas's St. Jude charity.
Mm-hmm.
And was such a good interviewer. And he was asking her questions, to find out about the charity and her dad and stuff. And then she looked at him and she said, "The woman you go home to must be so lucky. You're such a good conversationalist." And he said on camera, he said, "I'm single." And they've been married forever and ever and ever.
Yeah,
And
I remember that story.
I
Yeah.
thought it was so bold and cute and sweet on both sides. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I keep, thinking about ways. So I've said to Ben in my single life, "Wow, the women you go home to must be really lucky." And often they'll say yes, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
really good, I think it's a very safe line to find out if they're with somebody.
Right.
Because they don't always have rings, because they might not be married. They might just be in a committed relationship forever.
Right.
So, and the woman sometimes has a ring, but the guys usually don't. So I'm checking. So I've used that line a lot very successfully because I've had a few guys go, "Well, there's nobody at home." And I'm like, "Oh, you should do it
Nice.
tomorrow."
That's a nice approach. I know that
So I
one.
think that's a really good line. Don't you think that's a good line?
I will definitely borrow that one. Thank you.
Because I think it's very unisex. I think men could just as effortlessly use it. Because who doesn't want to be complimented on, "I think you're really great," and wow, the person that's lucky, that's a nice compliment that you married somebody good. Well, maybe you're not or not with somebody. Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know where it came one day when I did it. Maybe it was the Marlo Thomas thing, but I've used it a lot.
Good to know. So now everyone
And
listening can use it as well.
and how cute and attractive is that, right? To have somebody put it that way.
Oh, it
I
is
mean,
because
both people
it's
are going to feel good.
flattering. I mean, it's better than saying, "Do you have anybody at home?"
You live with anybody?
Yeah. So to frame it away that way, that's the thing as well. Is I'd say be conscious of what you say, but there's definitely some benefits to having an approach that is nice. It is generous, but also it's kind, but also it gives you what you need informationally as well. So it's kind of fun to have that question in your toolkit.
Mhm. I think it's a very important tool to have. And
Hmm.
other times I've said things like, "Wow," and, I always like, "I always like a handsome man to open the door for me." I bet you open the door for the ladies in your life too. So I've said that. If I
Hmm.
thought, because I don't say it to everybody, and I certainly don't say that
Right.
to the ones that have rings on, but I've certainly said it to guys that I was like, "I'm just gonna ping. Let's just see," because there's nothing offensive about it. There's
Right.
nothing really vulnerable about it. So
Yeah.
especially as a woman, we need to be careful and cautious. And for our safety, and men, you don't want to offend us because we can get all in our feelings for ways you're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"How did that even upset you?" But okay. So I look for gentle ways to ping.
Which is good because it is a way to find out. And as you said as well, be safe about it. Don't just do it to everybody because you have some level of awareness about who you're talking to.
Yeah, if
So
there's
it's the,
any concern or just any, then don't.
Mhm.
I said,
Right.
"Oh, there's so many more people to say that to."
Yeah, absolutely. So what else can you say that you or do to attract attention in dating? The thing that's funny because that I mean that ski thing just keeps ringing in my head because it's one of the things I remember. I haven't skied in decades, but for those who don't ski, that is the thing is that you do have to share the ski lift going up so that it stays balanced. And so that's why when you're on the lift, because especially some of the ski ride lifts are wider, so they have actually room for two, three, or four people. But I remember in the local mountains, they're only like twos, doubles. So it didn't sway back and forward. You have to have two people on the ski on the ride. So that's why I say single, so someone could come join you. But I always remember doing that and thinking, wouldn't that be great in a bar?
That's a great idea. And the thing is too, I was thinking farther through with the ski,
Yeah,
it just means they're on the slope alone. It doesn't mean they're not paired up in their life. So that's
right,
what you're going to find out as you're going up the
right,
mountain because it can
exactly.
take a little while. Gosh, what are you doing after skiing? Do you all have dinner plans? What's the local restaurant like? I mean,
Hmm.
you're saying it without being blatant
Right.
because poor guys, I think they're it's harder on them because they're constantly telling me, I just feel like I just keep putting my foot in my mouth. I feel like I don't feel very suave or debonair when I'm talking. So I try
Well,
to give them things to say.
which is good because truth be told, I mean, we're dealing with two things for men. One, we don't have the finesse necessary that women tend to have in what they say. But secondly, we're also dealing with a post-Me Too conversation. And that's one of the biggest challenges also for us men is how do we approach a woman without being presumed to be a predator or some other heinous person that she will hate to be around. And that's the thing that some of us carry inside. Not, I mean, if a man is that, he won't think about that sort of stuff. It's only the men who don't do that that think about it, of course, because we don't want to be painted with that brush. And so there's questions about how do we approach in a way that is additive, not threatening, and especially for a woman who basically is wanting to meet a man. She's got to be very cautious too, because there are men out there who are predators. So there is this dance to get to know each other from a much healthier place and keeping your guard up to a degree. That's the challenge about how do you do that without being overly protective?
Such a challenge.
Yeah.
So what I tell men, because boy, this has really come up a lot since, in this last year or so, that if you're going to approach a woman, let us see you coming.
Yeah.
For a man, we can walk up and touch you on the shoulder and come out of nowhere and wow, I saw you from across the room, or wow, I wanted to know more about what you were saying, and you'll be, I don't know that you'll have to tell me because it's not startled. You're just like, but then you'll go, whoa, cute woman's talking to me. I mean, there's nothing. There's only up from there. Where I want you to at least get a neutral with women. And the problem is, if you're all of a sudden there, you're going to get a minus. You could be the nicest, most wonderful person in the world. You've now startled us.
Yeah.
It's important because one thing is we have to be worried about our safety. The other thing is we're probably thinking about at least 5, maybe 12 things at the same time.
Yes.
We have no idea that we're there. We have no idea you're there. So if you come around or make a sound, not allowed, just like a or something, because I'm telling guys, and the guy on my Monday night thing tried it 3 times at the grocery store, had the best time. Because I said, women, really, we like helping. Ask us why we bought this kind of cabbage and what are we going to make with it? Or ask us, gosh, I really have always wanted to make, corned beef and cabbage like my grandmother. Do you know how to do that? We love it. We'll look it up on our phone. And he said, well, one time I forgot the approach, the let her know. And he did. He said, she talked to me, but she really was startled. I said, so then you have to work to just get to neutral again, much less have a positive experience. But one day he got her phone number. I was really proud of him because he's so shy and so introverted. He was having trouble with meetups, period. But he's really comfortable in the grocery store. So I'm really proud of him.
But I mean, most people who don't have servants tend to go to the grocery stores themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny because it's been interesting because my local Trader Joe's, I've got to know some of the staff there. In fact, one of the staff who works is a daughter of a friend of mine. But other people, I got to know some of the staff, and one of the managers and other people. And so we go in always saying hi to each other and talking and having a conversation. Yeah. And I noticed that seems to soften people's opinion of me, which is really cool too. So for that little tip to pass along too, if there are certain places you go and hang out, if it's the gym or if it's the hardware store or wherever it is you go, that you might have to meet someone of the opposite sex that you're attracted to, it doesn't hurt to build rapport with people there as well, because people then you become a known quantity, and that's definitely for a woman especially, that's reassuring to have to know the guy is known by the people, so there's a sense of trust there. So
it's the whole Cheers phenomena. You go a place, they know your name, right? And that really helps us women. That is such a good point that I'm not sure I've even would have thought of during this whole talk, so I'm so glad you brought it up.
Sure.
We like vetting. It's really helpful. And if it's a place that we already know, like, and trust, like Trader Joe's, and you're like, oh, the staff's talking to him. They know his name. Oh, he must be an okay guy. You might not be. I mean, this is so...
Of course, yeah.
But it really does help. And, oh, maybe he lives in the neighborhood and I live in the neighborhood. So to watch. You know, are the women in line behind you paying attention? Are the women at the produce station paying attention because you're talking to those people or the wine people or whatever? To smile at them, because we are noticing. So now we want you to smile at us, because that's very safe. We've seen you there. You're allowed to make eye contact and smile, even say hi.
Right.
This is what my lovely guy, I was going to say his name, but he hasn't given me permission. So the guy from Monday night, he's just a riot now, because he comes back every week to report. And this week it was 3. And so I said, this is, you have to do, I'm going to suggest even more that he get to know the people that work at the store, because that is a comfort level for women. So
Absolutely.
every man, frequent the stores in your neighborhood, find out who works there for real, be friendly with them, ask them questions. Trader Joe's, I mean, one of the things they do at Trader Joe's, I understand, is they have to, it's a nice have to, try everything so that they can give you reviews about the wine and the bread and the cheese and the crackers, because they need to have them all. And they can tell you if you like salty or if you like sweet or if you like dry wine or sweet wine. So why not talk to them? They know their stuff. And it's really their job. They're kind of like bartenders, that their job is to make friends with the customers. We're not all grocery stores are like that, even though they're sort of friendly, but it's really pressed at like Sprouts and Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, those kind of places. So look at that. It's going to give you even more in with women.
There you go. But I want to add another piece to that, because the other thing is, and I know it's been out there in social media too, about this thing about if you go on a date with somebody, watch how they treat the wait staff.
Oh
yeah. And retail staff is no different. So you can gauge the quality of a man or a woman by how they treat the wait staff, the retail staff. You know, if you happen to be in a clothes store, you know, some women go into clothes stores and treat the retail staff like they're slaves. Yeah. And that's a very telling demonstration too. And so having an awareness that when you are in a store, that you're being noticed, man or woman, it doesn't hurt to be aware of your surroundings too. You know, can you be nice to the person taking the money? I mean, I've had challenges sometimes when I go to certain stores where there's only one teller on and there's like a line of 25 people. You know, usually by the time they get there, I've gotten over my upset. And I've got to the point of just having compassion for them, saying, you're the only one working here. Boy, you're having a challenge. You know, not like you're the only one working here. How bad is that? No, it's like having compassion for them, because they've been, you know, challenged because they have to deal with everybody. Mm-hmm. So how you deal with the support staff wherever you go is very important too, because first of all, people notice. Secondly, if you do a regular visit, again, like a restaurant or hotel or retail store, wherever it is, when people know you, it doesn't hurt your resume when you're out meeting somebody else. So
it gives you a positive mark going in with people who are observing you that you might be interested in talking to. It'll already give you a positive point, which you really need in the world now, because of the world, we're a little more cautious, a little more in our feelings, we ladies, and a little more closed off. So anything you can do to get positive marks is, I think, really great. And absolutely. I'm all for it. So I'm glad that you're being such a good example at your local Trader Joe's. Hopefully more men will take notice of this, because it's good for everybody if more men and women are being friendly and warm and open to the retail people, because then the retail people, who I'm sure feel abused, will be in a better mood. And isn't it fun? I mean, I have a produce guy that goes and gets special things for me all the time at my local Ralph's, all the time. He's so cute. He looks for me to come in. And the people around you, as you said, are noticing. So then if you want to say something to somebody, they're already like, well, I'd talk to him because he seems like a nice person, or, wow, she was really courteous. I'd like to talk. Because there's times when you see people out in the world, they are just the biggest grumps. And I'm thinking, I'm really glad I don't go home to them. Yuck.
There you go.
I know this about them. I'm going to give them a wide berth. I'm not going to go anywhere near them. I'm going to make sure I'm in a different aisle. So we notice as shoppers, for sure, all the time.
Yeah. So bottom line is notice your attitude. If you want to,
Your inside attitude and how does it look on your outside face, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Because people are attracted to generally happy,
Positive.
open, positive, absolutely
Yeah.
enthusiastic, putting the best spin on stuff, not to be
Mhm.
taken advantage of, but wow, there's a long line. Okay, I have people to talk to, or I can play solitaire on my phone, or when I get up there, I'm gonna go, wow, I'm so impressed how calm you're staying with 47 people in line. Wow, because it's not their fault.
Right.
It's not their fault. And so, but they're the ones that get yelled at all the time because they're the ones
Right.
that are standing right there. So if
Mhm.
you are a positive, oh, she's getting a second dose of you.
Indeed.
If you are a positive person to them, you've made their day better.
Mhm.
It always makes me feel better to say something nice to people. And if you're doing it as part of it to have other people notice you so that you might get an extra good mark from somebody around you that you were thinking, gosh, I'd love to talk to them, have at it, because the world's just going to be a better place if you're doing it.
Yeah, and nothing to lose. I mean, getting to know the staff at the local store you go to regularly doesn't hurt your shopping experience. It adds to it, independent of date possibilities.
Yeah.
So maybe I
Anything
guess
that makes you feel better.
yeah. So maybe we're actually creating a better society this way as well.
We're paying it forward. I love it.
Yeah, there you go.
Even more than just in the little microcosm of dating, that it's going
Hmm.
to help people just get along better, feel more positive, make a point of being happier, saying positive things to people, knowing that people are just doing their best, they're trying their hardest, they're
Hmm.
there to serve you as much as they can. It's how they feed their family, is to come serve you. So could you just be nice and gracious about it? So, and if you practice it in all these other places, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm just going to practice it when I'm out at a singles thing, or I'm just going to practice it when I'm on a date. Well, I don't think you can over practice this, right?
No, I mean it's interesting because I was reflecting on my own recent experiences. I noticed that I have some room for improvement with my driving. Definitely where I sometimes get a bit impatient. Just to be transparent, yes, I put it on the World Wide Web. People now know I'm not perfect at it.
Oh,
And but
John, we're so glad. Us imperfect people are glad that you're admitting you're not perfect.
but that's the thing is the and I guess I'm saying it as a feedback for everybody is that we're not talking about perfection here. Just do the best you can, and when you make when you make quote a mistake, you just pick it yourself up and move on. I tend to have noticed that I think I do it almost subconsciously now, where if I do something that feels like I've rubbed somebody the wrong way, I'll do my best to treat somebody else better afterwards, like to balance it, sort of thing. It's almost like it's a sort of penance in some ways, sort of way.
That's
Because the
nice.
thing is, I mean, I mean, especially when parking. Um, Again, Trader Joe's. That's the one I was most recently at. So I was thinking about that. Was driving in the parking lot. Is I almost always when I go early in the morning after I go for my hike because that's when it's the quietest. Parking's lots open because the restaurants aren't open yet, and also easy to get into the store and back. But then the other day I had to go in the afternoon because I had a couple things I forgot I need to go and get, and so parking was a little bit harder because there were rooms in the parking lot. But the thing is that I realized because I rushed to get there was I can relax a bit, like let someone else go first. So I let someone else go first. They went around the lot, and right in front of me, somebody pulled out of the space right in front of me that I didn't see before because the other car was blocking it. So,
Oh,
and I mean, I'm not saying that's like always happening, but those little moments of magic remind me that it's okay to be relaxed. It's okay to be nice. It's okay to be more in the present. Because the thing is, again, as a talking the topic, what can you say or do to attract attention in dating? Is live a life that is attractive. I mean, simply put, do things that you do things in a way that you feel better about yourself, but also that you exude a better sense of niceness and joy and light into the world. You become more attractive.
oh my gosh, you were calling more peace in your life instead of a grumpy face. And
And you
look
get
at you
benefits.
almost, I mean, if we look at it, you kind of got rewarded by a cool parking
Exactly.
when you
It's
came
amazing
back
how that
home.
works.
It is. I say thank you for parking places all the time. And
Mhm.
I don't know, I think it's where they put Trader Joe's. It's always a challenge. I just go knowing it's going to be a challenge.
I'm just thinking in my top of my head, the trade shows I go to, most of them, yes, have pretty challenging parking because they share other places or
Mhm.
It's funny because one of the trader shows I've been to a while ago, which is the first time I've been there for a while, they have a massive. It's one of the biggest Trader Joe's in LA. It's so massive inside, but the parking lot is tiny.
Mhm.
It's like you can't get both for some reason. So anyway,
No,
about
yeah.
Trader Joe's. Back to dating.
It's been my 100% experience, and I've been to a lot of Trader Joe's that the parking lot is always challenging. But
Yes,
I have to say, generally, people are pretty pleasant about it, and they're like, pull it where their car is. And we just, if you have a pleasant attitude, often you'll attract people having a pleasant attitude too. And if you're
which
not, you're glad you don't go home to them.
is exactly. So it's good in dating and it's good in life.
Yes. So, oh my gosh, I hope that you've really gotten some tips and techniques to feel more attractive, to feel like you're going to attract people that are more attractive for you, the inside and outside attractive that we've so harped on in this whole talk, that it's not just the outside part. And that how more attractive people are inside, the more attractive they become outside. I mean, that is a truth.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn more or have a private conversation with one of us about other challenges you're having in your dating and relationships, the way to get a hold of me is initially through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com, because you learn how to be the perfect catch and then you will attract the perfect catch. And
Nice.
you can join my mailing list. You can also schedule a complimentary conversation with me if you click on what's holding you back from love. You can also send me a personal email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And you can, when you sign up for my newsletter, you get this podcast. It's as a bonus. It's very exciting. And you can join me on all of my social media platforms, Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram are all Christine Baumgartner. And then YouTube is at Coach Christine Baumgartner. And what's the other one?
Twitter's the other one?
Twitter, I'm Christine Baumgartner.
Okay.
Coach Christine Baumgartner. Yeah, because you don't want to talk to Kevin Costner's ex-wife. You have to put in the coach part. Then it's me.
Yes. And then shoot. There you go. That's the way to do it.
And how can they reach you, Barry?
Mine's so much simpler than that.
I know you have the complicated. Well, women are often more complicated than men. So
there we go.
Really my role.
Exactly. So if you want to get some money to chat to me, my site is my name to make it easier. So barryselby.com is my website. You can definitely check out what's on there. My site's being redeveloped, redesigned at the moment as this is being recorded. Maybe by the time listening to it, it's been done. I don't know. It's still being in the process. I've been designer revamping it. But on the site currently, if you go there, on the link on the homepage is a sign up where you can actually sign up for a mini session with me, which is take the next step, take the first step, something like that. I can't remember now, to be honest. Click on that and you can book a session with me. It's a short version of a coaching session to get to know how we work together and see how that works. At the bottom of the homepage, there's a link to join my email list, which I definitely recommend you do because, like Christine, I do send out the replays of this show to my email list, as well as other news and other information and other things. As a quick aside, I just hit the publish button on the 10th anniversary version of my book. I just revamped my book after 10 years. And I'm launching some new things because of that. So you definitely join my email list to be notified about that stuff. Also on my social media, on my website, there's other things too, but they're not yet updated. So I'm going to tell you about that. However, on my social media, you can find is all my name except for a couple of places. So I'm Barry Selby on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, and on Clubhouse. And on Instagram, it's the real Barry Selby. That's the only one's different because the old account got hacked. So when you follow me there, check out my stuff. I do post some pretty provocative memes sometimes. Definitely things that will get you inspired and waking up. So definitely check us both out. We have lots of good content to share.
Mm-hmm. I love sharing your provocative content.
Thank you.
It's lots of comments always. They're so beautiful too. They're very beautiful people's bodies. So we will be back next week on Thursday at 1:00 Pacific and 4:00 Eastern and all the times in between. And we love if you write comments on our podcast, if you send us questions you'd like us to address on a future issue and a future episode. And if you know somebody that's having a challenge in their dating or their relationships, please share our podcast with them. And then they can go back and look at our archives. We're almost at like 150. And Then also Barry reminded me last week, we're on Roku and we're on Apple now. So you can sign up for listening on Apple. We're audio on Apple, and we're audio and visual on Roku, and a whole bunch of other platforms.
We're everywhere.
Everywhere. Very exciting. Oh, I'm so excited because
It's good.
I feel like, especially today when we do this whole pay it forward thing, that we're helping people have a good relationship with themselves, with their partners, and spreading it out to the world.
Absolutely.
I'm pretty proud of us.
I am pretty proud of us too.
Yeah.
In which case,
sorry?
I'll say, I was going to say same thing you were after you.
Next week. We'll see you next week.
Exactly. See you next week.
Bye for now.